Gone are the days where you could say that certain economies in the world would make their value creation or make their way in the world using land and capital and labour, and that other developed economies would become knowledge economies and trade, financial services and what have you. So those days are gone. All people and all economies now compete on the basis of knowledge. There was some research done a number of years ago by the World Bank where they talked about the 4 fundamental pillars that needed to be in place to create a knowledge economy. And 2 of those related directly to the knowledge created in an economy. There was the education and training system, there was the innovation systems present in a country, there had to be a good ICT backbone, broadband infrastructure to distribute that knowledge, and there had to be a political and regulatory system underneath that that underpinned how economy operated. So if you look at the first 2 of those, education and training, absolutely fundamental that our economy has the ability to create people in the population that can create, share and use knowledge. And we will compete on that basis. And the second pillar, the innovation systems, it's absolutely essential that we have a top-class university system, top-class people with the ability to take global knowledge, add Irish knowledge to it, and compete on a global scale, then disseminating that knowledge back out to the world. So we're operating on a global scale already. The aspirant knowledge economies of the world, such as Singapore, Hong Kong, Russia, China, they're already our competition, and the competition for talent with those economies is huge. In terms of the education system, we have, I'd really like to applaud Minister Ruairi Quinn and the department for the work they're doing. They're on the right path. We're certainly moving in the right direction with things like Project Maths, with reform of the junior cert, with extra time for maths and science in the classroom. However, we could move faster. As I said, we're operating on a global basis. It's no longer good enough for us to incrementally improve and compare ourselves with how we were in the past. We have to compare ourselves with the people whom we're competing with worldwide, the Singapores, the Hong Kongs and the Finlands. These are the benchmarks that we have to benchmark our education system against. And the stats aren't great at the moment. There was a recent piece of research that showed we're 10th in the world in literacy. We're about 17th in the world in numeracy, but we're 22nd in the world out of 50 economies in terms of science ability. Now, for an economy that wants to be competing at the top level of knowledge economies worldwide, for us to be 17th and 22nd in maths and science is just completely at odds with our aspirations to be a knowledge economy. So we are on the right path. I think the Minister is doing a great job at moving the system along, but we need to move quicker. If you look at, again, our competitors worldwide in terms of our aspirations of the knowledge economy, it is absolutely acceptable that we have English, Maths and Irish as compulsory right through to Leaving Cert, but you'd have to ask why we don't have science as part of that mix as well. I heard it recently described by somebody in Dublin, I think it was Vincent Cerf. He was saying that the STEM subjects are going to be the fuel of the knowledge economy of the 21st century. They're the building blocks of wealth and value creation of the next century and beyond. So for us to say that maths absolutely is essential through to a higher level, but why not science as well? So you'd have to question that if the STEM subjects are so important to the economies of the future, why isn't science compulsory through to Leaving Cert level? It seems like people in Ireland are asked to make, children are asked to make decisions about their careers at too early a stage. It seems like there's seemingly benign decisions you're asked to make at 12 and 13 years of age, where you come to these almost, you could describe them as T-junctions, where without ever actually making a fundamental decision that you're going to cut yourself off from a science career in the future, you may get streamed into it's either art or science, or it's languages or science at a very early age, 12, 13 years of age. And once you've made that decision, that very subtle decision, you've gone down a certain path, you're in essence starting the process of streaming. And it's difficult for people to turn back and decide, when they're 17, 18, that in fact, actually, I'd love to pursue a career in science or maths, But if you haven't taken maths through to a higher level in the Leaving Cert, or you haven't taken physics or chemistry at a younger age, you're essentially cutting yourself off from those careers of the future. So I do feel there's a responsibility for us to inform kids more about what kinds of careers maths and science subjects allow them access to in the future. So we're taking that responsibility very seriously, particularly at Intel. I think that businesses can be and must be part of the solution in providing these skills that will be required for the careers of the future. However, we would not be doing, I would not be doing a service if I said to you that it's the responsibility solely of companies. There's three parties in this, if I could put it that way. There's the company that has to provide training, specific training about the job function that's required of an individual. There's the individual who has to want to take up those career opportunities. There's that phrase that you own your own career development. The company can provide the tools and the opportunities, but the individual has to want to take them and push them forward as far as they can. And then there's the underlying social requirement of a government to put in place an education system that's fit for purpose. Because companies can't go back and put in place the fundamental building blocks of knowledge that's required in these complex careers that maths and science and engineering and technology will provide. You need to have a basic understanding of algebra and calculus and a knowledge of the basics of physics and the principles of physics and chemistry in order for you to progress through the levels and take that throughout into the workforce. But when you get to the workforce, we can layer the top levels of detail on top of that, but unless that fundamental base is there and it's strong and it's best in class and world class, then there's really nothing that companies can do to compensate for that gap. The issue of women's participation in maths and science is certainly not an Irish-only issue. In fact, there's global dimensions to this where of the 800 million illiterate people in the world, 2/3 of them are women. So access to educational opportunities for women worldwide is a big issue. But in Ireland, we don't have that problem. Our problem is more around the notion of participation by young girls in maths and science subjects to higher level and Leaving Cert, and then the cliff that we fall off as a nation, looking at girls' participations in science courses and then onward into science careers into the future. The statistics across the European Union point to something in the region of 6 to 7% of technical careers are filled by women across the European Union. So if you think about the grand societal challenges that you hear our Commissioner Maura Geoghegan-Quinn talking about, the notion of solving these problems through maths and science, the problems of climate change, food security, our demographics, the notion of these problems that we will have to solve at some point in the future, the solutions to those existing within the maths and science domain, and then for us to leave 50% of the talent pool of Europe and Ireland behind as we're trying to solve those problems. We can't get there without encouraging young girls to take these maths and science courses and participate in solving these grand societal problems of the future. There's numerous different organisations looking at helping to solve that problem. The Commission are looking at it, the UNESCO are looking at it, the ITU, the International Telecoms Union, are looking at it. And there are models for solutions emerging, I suppose. The forerunners right now would be things like role models, showing young girls what types of careers are available to them in the future, and then showing them women who've been very successful in that domain. There's the notion of mentorship. So as young girls come closer to making decisions about their future career, is there someone they can call? Is there someone they can get information from to help them, guide their path to the future? If you use the analogy of going on a journey, these days we use GPS packed with the latest satellite knowledge, it's updated on a continuous basis to help us get to our destination. But when these young girls are making decisions about how they get to their destination, how they map these careers of the future and how they get there, are we arming them with the right information? when they turn to people for advice about the careers of the future, when they turn to their parents, when they turn to their teachers, when they turn to their peers, are we arming those people with the right information to help these young girls make decisions about the careers of the future? And the famous statistic now is about the 80% of the jobs that will exist in the future don't exist right now. And that in parallel with the fact that so many of these grand societal issues will be solved by maths and science type people in maths and science type careers. So for so many young girls to not have access to the knowledge that will allow them to participate and be part of the diverse groups that we need to solve these grand societal problems, for us to leave half of that talent pool of the world behind, let alone Ireland, it just means that we can't get to where we need to get to as a society.